This is what I learned from 20 years of being in the Navy SEALs. Discipline, drive, how to make decisions under pressure, leadership, strategy, and tactics that you can apply to business and you can apply to your life as well. So let's go.
Why does discipline equal freedom?
Because the more discipline you have in your life, the more freedom you will end up with. This went wrong, this failed, didn't accomplish this, and it's not the fault of my boss, it's not the fault of my girlfriend, it's not the fault of my parents, it's not the fault of the weather, it's my fault. And I'm gonna take ownership of it and I'm gonna fix it. That's what extreme ownership is. And this is a very difficult thing to do because it hurts. Because when you look around at your life and you look around at your job and your financial situation and your relationship and your physical health, and when you look at all those things and all the problems that you may have with those things, and you say, the reason I have all those problems is because of me, that can hurt. That can sting. And a lot of times our ego rejects that and makes excuses and lies. And then we don't have to change anything. And then nothing changes. So if you lack the discipline to exercise and eat healthy, you will end up being a slave to disease. If you lack the discipline to work hard, save your money, you will end up a slave to finances. If you lack the discipline to manage your time correctly, you will end up with no free time. If you have self-discipline, if you have the discipline to save your money and work hard and invest your money properly, if you have the discipline to manage your time correctly and not waste a bunch of time, if you have the discipline to exercise and eat healthy, you will end up with freedom. And I know it's a counterintuitive, it's contrarian, but I've seen this over and over and over again. If you want freedom in your life, you have to have discipline.
The coward in us wants to stay safe. With anything that brings about purpose and meaning, a coward has to die.
What do most people misunderstand about discipline equals freedom?
I don't know. I think it was pretty simple to understand.
I agree, but it's with simplicity comes an awful lot of opportunity for people to.
Yeah, I guess there's always people that, you know, as they're trying to fish for a contrarian thing to say, which I think you kind of have to fish for it. I think you have to work for it to get with that statement. But, there's such a thing as too much discipline. And if you have so much discipline in your life, then you won't be enjoying your life. And cool, yep. If you are so disciplined that you never go out and you never eat a pizza, cool, you might be bummed out. Yep, you can go too far with it. Mm-hmm. But generally speaking, if you have an occasional pizza because they taste really good and once a month or whatever, you go down to the pizza place and you get a pizza, cool, good for you. That's going to be awesome. And that's the reward for freedom. But I think it's pretty straightforward. And I guess if I was to fish a little bit more, I would say that the idea that discipline is natural or it's
innate.
Yeah. And actually my middle daughter, who's a jiu-jitsu player, she was actually speaking the other day. And one of the things that she said was, she was speaking about discipline. And she said, you know, I was training, my dad and I, we went to the gym the other day and we were both training, and I was training with, you know, the guys that I train with, and she was training with the people she trains with. And it's a Sunday and we're training. We're both like really tired when we're done. And we get done and we're kind of sitting up on the mats and we're talking. And I look at her and I said, I said, not one part of me wanted to come train today. Like 0% of me wanted to come train today. And I'm so glad I came and trained, because, you always feel great when you get done training. But so my daughter went and spoke to this group, and she said, my dad, Mr. Discipline, who's been on this path for however many decades, my dad didn't want to train. And he had to go, hey, doesn't matter whether you want to do it or not, you got to have the discipline, go do it. And he did, and he got done with it. So, and I think that's a good thing to remember, that discipline isn't just, oh, this person is, quote, more disciplined than this other person. It's like, no, this person is choosing discipline, this person is not. That's the way it is. So I think that's an important thing to remember. You have the option of being disciplined. You don't have the option of being born 6'4", right? You don't have that option. You either are or you're not. But you do have the option of choosing discipline or not.
So discipline, not necessarily something that you're born with?
I don't think so at all. I think maybe there's some small percentage of it. Maybe this person's a little bit more innately disciplined than this other person, but I think it's a choice.
Well, how much of it's habit as well, and momentum? As you said, that I think this is one of the vicious cycles that people get into, and it's also why you see people that have unbelievably outsized results in life, and those who kind of have consistently bad results in life, because each positive experience is self-reinforcing. It tells you a story about the sort of person you are, and you start to build on good habits, and these good habits show you more good habits, and you get a little bit more confidence, and you get a little bit more, and you say, well, this is part of my identity now, actually. You can push myself a little bit, so and you're like, holy fuck, like, it's the 1% per day increase, and you end up at some unbelievably big number by the end of the year. But you also see the opposite, and this is how you get very diverging outcomes from people that started at relatively similar places.
Certainly, and this is something that I've said for a while, and is discipline begets discipline, right? If you make a bad decision in the morning and you decide you're not going to get out of bed, you decide you're not going to work out, when you get to the office, the donuts are that much more tempting, and you're probably going to eat one. Whereas if you woke up early, you worked out, you got a little bit of work done before you even showed up to work, you show up to work, and now those donuts, you're like, I don't need those right now. You just make better decisions. And
that's on the front foot today or on the back foot?
Yeah, today? Exactly. And yeah, the compounding thing for sure. And you make one good little decision that leads to another good little opportunity. And I'm sure you have friends like this too. I have friends that made just small decision after small bad decision after small bad decision, and they end up in terrible, terrible places, which is awful to see.
I think it's really important because as men, we get conflicting messages about emotion and how to express it and what that looks like, and if there's weakness to certain emotions, or if but the psychology seems to be pretty clear that the suppression of these emotions, the trying to hide them, the total compartmentalizing of them doesn't actually make them go away. They just appear somewhere else, in a bottle or in some kind of recreational drug or somewhere else. So,
and nor does suppressing them isn't going to help. And nor is letting them run your life. So because you're sad, now you're going to make a bunch of bad decisions because you're sad. No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. You're sad. Okay. You get emotional sometimes. Okay. Got it. Now get control of your emotions and carry on with your life. And sometimes you're going to get hit with those waves, and that's okay. I think that's a big misconception, and sort of relates to what you're saying. Oh, I'm having an emotional moment right now. There's something wrong with me. No, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. The other extreme is, I'm letting my emotions run my life, and I'm making a bunch of bad decisions. And my excuse is, well, I lost some friends, or I had this traumatic experience happen to me. That's why I'm doing. That's just an excuse. And it's a very easy excuse. And in society, the last thing I want to say to you is, well, you can't act like that. Oh, you lost one of your friends? Hey, that doesn't mean you can make an excuse. You can't use that as an excuse. No, I go, hey man, okay. That's what I say, right? I'm a polite person. I'm an empathetic person. You're sad. You're making bad decisions. You're saying it's because you lost your friend or you went through this traumatic thing. And I go, okay, how can I help? Instead of saying, hey man, yeah, guess what? It's time to carry on. Don't dwell on it. I've told 1,000 veterans this. remember, don't dwell. Remember your friends, don't dwell in the past though. Remember, don't dwell. That's what we have to do. And the emotions, yes. Embrace those emotions, but don't let those emotions embrace you. Don't let those emotions run your life. There is a, because people say, suppressing your emotions is bad. Okay, so I'm just gonna let all these emotions out and they're gonna run my life now. No. At a certain point, you say, okay, my emotions are now leading me down the wrong path. I'm in control. I'm not gonna allow my emotions to make my decisions. They're in the calculus. I'm not saying take your emotions out of the calculus, but they have to be one component of your calculus, not the whole equation. The equation has to include emotions, yes. Logic, yes. Future, yes. Goals, yes. Family, yes. Work, yes. Finances, yes. All those things have to be in the calculus. Emotions has to be a part of that calculus. You can't pull them out of there or they'll bite you. But you can't make them the overwhelming denominator of everything that you do, or it's going to be problematic.
Is there anything that you could do or you would advise them to do to kind of walk back from there, to get over the other side? Because I think we can all think of people in our lives, and maybe even ourselves at times, who have gotten into a chronic pattern of using excuses and blame as a form of self-defense because we don't want to turn that mirror back at us and have to confront reality. Like, I think sometimes, if I think about some of my closest friends, those that have the lowest self-esteem will use excuses and blame the most because it's, personal responsibility might not, in the short term at least, do anything for my already low self-esteem. So I'm going to blame the world as self-defense. What's step one to get out of that?
Well, unfortunately, what happens a lot, and you may or may not have seen this, but I would assume you've seen this at some point in your life. People, and this is a term, there's a term, it's rock bottom, right? This is a term that we hear for someone that's addicted, someone that's an alcoholic, someone that's physically let themselves go, someone that's put themselves into a situation with their finances or their work or whatever, where they reach rock bottom. But when the excuses all go away and people can actually confront the fact that this is all because of me, and it hurts, but it's also unbelievably empowering, because if these problems are because of me, then I'm capable of fixing these problems. So even though extreme ownership hurts and is painful, it's also liberating, because now you have control over your fate and over your destiny, and that is a glorious thing.